What is the freakiest/creepiest thing that's ever happened to you? Serious. I had a roommate who was always a complete asshole. Never was polite or kind to anyone. One night after I helped his drunk ass to bed, he turned to me and said, "I really appreciate you, and I know you don't like seeing me like this. You've been a good roommate and friend. Thank you." I found him dead the next morning due to an undiagnosed heart condition that alcohol had amplified. Not creepy or freaky in the normal sense, but I will never forget how serious and genuine he was in his last words spoken ever. It was the first time I had ever heard him compliment anyone. My cousin and I were probably targeted for a scam, but I still don't know how or why. We are 6 years apart, but went to the same high school at different times. Small school, graduating classes about 60. Years later, we are on a road trip together several states away and decide to stop at a Huddle House for coffee. We walk in, and the guy at the next table turns around and smiles and says, "You went to Town High School, right?" When we say yes, he says he and his girlfriend, also at the table, smiling and not talking, went there too. We didn't recognize them, but smiled politely, commented it was a small world. He starts to rapidly talk about different things from the school, just disjointed comments that were a bit odd. He talked like a salesman, almost. At first, we smile and nod, but he had weird facts wrong. So we ask what year he graduated. He claimed not to remember. So we asked follow-up questions, and he gets KG. Suddenly the girlfriend, "Oh yes, this isn't working," and they suddenly pay and leave. Food unto shade. We since have determined they didn't go to our school and have tried to figure out how he knew what he did, to no avail. When I was about 5, I was visiting my grandma in the city with my mum, dad and sister. We were walking towards the city center, so it was pretty crowded. I remember letting go of my dad's hand and then feeling him grab back hold of it a few moments later. I kept walking, I don't know how far. I hear my dad shouting from behind me and grabbing my other arm. I hear him say sorry, and I look up, and I realize I was holding hands with an old man that I didn't know. My dad assumed that I'd accidentally grabbed onto this man's hand thinking he was my dad. I remember him pulling me away all embarrassed, and I was just thinking, but the man grabbed my hand? So basically, I think some guy tried to snatch me out of a crowded area. I still don't understand why my dad thought I grabbed onto his hand. My parents were normally quite paranoid about strangers. He must have been distracted when talking to my grandma. Mom died 5 months ago, and I moved across the state into her apartment to be closer to family. I swear I heard her call my name one night. It felt so natural, hearing her voice in her own apartment, but she'd been dead over a month. I'm sure it was just a nearly asleep hallucination, but it was spooky. My grandpa died almost a year ago. My grandma says she hears him call her name in the mornings fairly often, just the way he used to wake her in the mornings. She thinks it's grandpa visiting her. I think that's wonderfully sweet. Thank you for sharing that with me. When I heard mom, I just thought, I'm right here, mommy, and fell asleep. Maybe they check in on us. Who's to say, really? I've told this story before, but it is still by far the creepiest thing to happen to me. When I was 16, I had just gotten my license as well as my first after school job. Since school ended about an hour before I had to be at work, I would sometimes park in the adjacent parking lot and take a nap. This was a shopping strip with a grocery store, restaurants, and a bank on a fairly busy Friday afternoon. As I'm sitting there drifting off, I see a black Denali pull up behind me, blocking my car in the spot. A gentleman jumps out in a business suit and asks if I can help him. He looks nice enough, and I'm assuming he is looking for directions. He starts to explain to me that his wife and he were supposed to be signing for a loan at the bank behind us today so that they can purchase a boat, but she is stuck in a meeting and can't make it. He then asks if I wouldn't mind posing as her and singing the documents for her. I'm completely blown away, but super shy, and feel the need to let him down easy. Stupid, I know. So I tell him I don't think they'll believe I'm your wife. He then tells me it's fine. He has her license with him, which he shows me, and she has the same hair/eye color as me, so they won't know. At this point I'm freaking out. I start to notice how disheveled he looks. He's sweating, and surprise surprise, no wedding ring. I just want him away from my car, so I start telling him I can't help him, that he needs to go ask someone else. He says it's fine, it'll be quick, just jump in my truck and I'll take you over there. Like I said, this bank was in the same shopping strip, there would be no need to drive to it. Even in my gullible teenage mind I know this story is complete bull. I'm telling him no over and over, while scanning the parking lot for anyone who might be noticing, but of course no one has. He then starts getting irate, telling me that I'm perfect and the only one who can do it, how beautiful I am, can he at least take me to dinner, and so on. I start trying to close my window, and he reaches through, grabs my shoulder and starts trying the door handle, which was luckily locked. I'm so frozen I don't even really react, I can't go anywhere as he's blocking me in. Suddenly, and I'm not really sure why, I just blurt out that I'm only 16, and for some reason that freaks him out. He slowly backs away, gets in his truck, and leaves. I called the police afterwards, but they never followed up with me. But I just know he had found that license and made up that story as a way to lure women into his truck, and it scared the hell out of me that he could have convinced someone before. Years later I spotted him on the sex offender registry for assault / they need to train us better to attack or run when shit like this happens. We are so goddamn polite when we are about to be kidnapped. I have a very vivid memory of waking up terrified in the middle of the night and running to my parents' room because I saw a ghost when I was a kid. He followed me and stared at me from the doorway as I crawled into their bed and hid under the covers. We looked at each other for a few minutes and then he left. I was so shaken that I stayed awake the rest of the night until my parents woke up in the morning. I was an adult when I realized that it was not a ghost and actually someone scoping out our house in the middle of the night. One night I had a dream that a cowwalker killed me with an axe, and when I got to work the next day she was telling a fellow cowwalker that she had a dream that she killed me with a knife. Sort of an odd coincidence. She never did try to kill me, but it was a little bit creepy. In 1991 I went to a 7-Eleven by myself when we were at my grandmother's house. There was another kid there about my age, we looked similar, etc. I bought a Slurpee and walked back to my grandma's house, and that was that. The other kid was kidnapped and murdered pretty much right after leaving that 7-Eleven. The only thing I can think of that kept it from being me was maybe I won some sort of cosmic coin toss. The police are pretty sure they know who did it, but couldn't prove it, and to this day it still weirds me out. I'm 41 now, and live in that neighborhood. I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with a den. In the den we had a spare bed for visitors, or whatever. One night my boyfriend was super sick, so I went and slept in the spare bed. In the middle of the night I had what seemed to be sleep paralysis, where I couldn't move, but was seemingly awake. In that state I saw a dark figure walk into the room and just stand over me for a while. Like the dark figure was right over my face. The next day I was very freaked out. I told my boyfriend and he asked if I was joking. The same night he saw a dark shadowy figure in our bedroom, pacing in front of the bed. He said he slept with the light on all night, which had explained why it was on the next morning when I went into the room. This happened about a year ago, and we haven't talked about it since. We'd rather forget that entire night happened. Fucking hell, my daughter appeared in my doorway as soon as I looked up from reading this. I about had a heart attack. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you can see when I upload new daily content. Goodbye.